Hello everyone and welcome back to another video here on Planet Zoo in the Katahdin Zoo. We are back at things once again, but this time we're making a frog house. Now, we have not made an exhibit area in quite a while, so this time we are going to be adding 3 frogs and a land snail into this building. Now, I was only going to do 3, but I decided to do 4 exhibit areas just because there was a land snail and there was only 1. So it's kind of like, you know what? I think we should just throw it in there because basically why not? This building was something very different, something that I haven't done before. And it actually took me a few tries to actually get it just right. So you're going to be seeing how I do that in this video. Giving you a heads up, I did research every theme, so now I have all the building materials. I used to only have like, I think it was like basically just the New World and like the classic one. So now I actually have like the East Asia theme, the Africa theme, and the Indian theme. I actually use some pieces from the Asia theme in here, and it actually really works out well for what I'm trying to accomplish in this video. Now we kind of start toward the front because it's going to be our grand entrance area. That's something I want to get right in the first place. We're going for a look that is more of a log cabin type feel. I don't know if like I should say this is supposed to be like a hotel type log cabin feel or whatnot, but at the end I think it still comes out pretty great anyway. We do a nicely pitched roof. I have to work on it a little bit throughout the video. I may cut out some parts because I'm very indecisive in how I want to do all this. So we end up also using some nice wooden columns, and we try to make something out of it so it looks a little bit thicker but has a little bit of texture to it also. It was one of the challenges really to get done in this video because I had to do that for like every corner too, which was just a pain, like you could imagine. And for some reason, every time I end up moving like a group of items, it wants to change the axis line, so I can't adjust it properly, and it's just a whole pain in itself. It's just, you wouldn't want to deal with it. Now I think the front comes out pretty well. In the beginning of the video, it's going to look a little bit off just because there's really no decoration. There's really nothing to help provide a better look to it. So one thing that I like doing when I make buildings, make habitats and whatnot, is that I really like to make it so we have the general idea done before we start looking at some of the smaller things. So we basically start off with big and we move our way down to small. And that's what we do in this video as well. Now toward the back with the pitched roof, I kind of couldn't figure out what to do with this one. I forget now what I actually stick with, but you'll end up seeing the finished product here shortly at some point. But at these little like indents or extents, I don't know what you want to consider them, but the little pieces of wood that kind of stick out where our exhibits lie, they have to stick out, otherwise they kind of cut through the exhibit, which I didn't want. So therefore we actually end up just having it bumped out, and we learned to put some nice little columns in there as well to make sure we don't have it look so weird, basically. That's the best way of putting it. I really struggle with the back of this building too, so what I want to point out about this building is it's a nice touch to our North America side of our zoo. Well, it's not only North America now, it's also South America, Central America. So we're blending that together, but it fits well with the North American vibe around the area. So like the grizzly bears and, you know, the timber wolves, this building works out pretty well. And then we have our tapirs right next to that, which maybe isn't the best match, but you know, I can only do so much right now. There's not that many North American animals. Coming to the back of our nice log cabin, I'm thinking about adding a little chimney right here. You'll see me kind of struggle with this, but I end up not using the right pieces. I remember the type of pieces that I've seen before that I wanted to use, but essentially I didn't find them until just about now. So the little breeze bricks below end up getting removed, and we use these concrete bricks instead because it ends up just looking more clean and just better in general. Now I didn't make an interior fireplace, and mainly because of that is because there was no little effect to make fire in this game. There's only like water and like smoke effects in this game. So I didn't end up making a fireplace inside, although I could make one that's like just not working or being used at the time. But essentially I just don't do anything with it. Now we end up making it operational too, because I want this to look realistic, so I actually end up putting smoke at the top of the house, or on top of the chimney, so it actually looks functioning, which ends up being really nice. I like it. It makes it look more functional. I gotta say the most depressing thing about this whole entire building is that many people are not using it. And I really hate to say that, but it's true. Not many people are using it. Like, I've only had like 2 families in there at a time, so it's probably costing us more money more than anything. I'm hoping that if we end up adding more habitats behind here, like across the bridge and stuff like that, more people are going to walk by and end up walking in here. So that is the hope. We will see what ends up happening, and if nothing ends up happening, you know what, we could also, remove the exhibits out of this area and make this a different functioning building. We could actually make it a food court if we wanted it to. Actually, it probably wouldn't work out. But, there's a lot of things we can still do with it. The building should not go to waste regardless. Now, toward the front again, I want to point out a few things. We end up changing the window above. We end up making it so it looks a little bit more arched, which ends up working out pretty well. One thing that I wanted to do also is that on the side of the buildings, right underneath the little overhang, I wanted to add something there so it didn't look empty. So I ended up using these little East Asia bricks, like stone pieces, to use them as planters, and I ended up putting some nice, I think, flowers in there. I'm still anticipating what's going on, but we end up using them as planters. And also, I find more East Asia things that I actually really like to use for this building. And that's like the little wood pieces that actually have some sort of like structure to them. So I don't know if it's like rope or like, metal that surrounds the piece of wood. I think it's metal. Yeah, it's metal. But it ends up working pretty well for these pieces. It works out pretty well. And then I kind of use them for the pieces in the back where our exhibit kind of hugs the corners, and it makes it really hard to use the column pieces that we used beforehand with them. So that is also something a little bit different that we put in there, which I end up liking. Finally figure out how to do the back of the building, because it would look really weird if we just had a pitched roof and didn't have little indents on the side, which comes out acting as if there's like little rooms up there or something. So that's kind of like the whole thought process in that. So this is going to be the last video of the Katahdin Zoo before I end up making this other zoo that I have in mind. And I'm going to leave it a surprise, so you guys will see it once it comes out. But I do have something in mind, so we're going to make the zoo. But this does not mean we're leaving the zoo. This is going to be our main zoo of our franchise. So therefore, we have this other zoo planned, and we're going to actually attempt to do it. I had a few suggestions, and I like them all. But I'm deciding against a few, mainly because of, just other factors. I think one of them was like an Arctic zoo, and although I would love to have an Arctic zoo, I anticipate there being some sort of DLC for it. It's kind of hard to imagine that Frontier Games will not actually give us a DLC for Arctic animals. I see that like impossible. So there's definitely going to be something like that coming out. It's hard to not see that happening. So I'm going to wait for that to happen, and even before the DLC comes out for that, because, why not get a head start? I may end up doing something and maybe just editing the zoo later. But right now, I want to try one of the themes that we have out in the base game right now. So the rest of this building is really just a lot of touch-up and a lot of decorations. A few issues that we actually end up running into is parts of this building does not have power, so we end up having to move part of the power generators and all this other fun stuff. And since this is going to be a frog house, we end up putting nice little froggies on the side. Kind of hard not to. Now, one thing I didn't notice about this game is it has very limited signs. So I have to figure out what to actually do for a sign. And I gotta say, that's probably the worst part about this building is adding a sign. And I end up just sinking the sign in so it just says Frog House in the front, which is so sad. Like, it really is. But I really, I did with what I could. So it's it's fine, I guess. But this building cannot be complete without some nice windows. I end up recoloring some of them. The only problem is that like the bridge is right there, so the windows kind of face right up against the bridge, which isn't very real. But it was gonna look very weird if that weren't the case. I guess another thing that I struggle with too is how I should decorate the front. So I just end up putting some nice little lamps there from the New World pack. And I guess that's all I really end up doing with that. And let's say if we did want to open this park up at night, I wanted to add in some lights inside. I'm someone that likes to do the interior design, although it may not be that much. I want to add a little bit of something in there, so it's not just plain and basic. I want there to be something with it, so it's not like just an empty box. That would be kind of sad. So therefore, I don't end up doing that, quite simply. So I think that's all we really have to go over. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a like. Also, hit subscribe if you haven't already to keep up to date on all your videos. I cannot wait to make the next park here on our franchise mode, so be sure to stay tuned. Leave me any suggestions down below for what I can do next, and I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.